Just over 6 months ago, Vladimir Putin and Russia started the largest and most brutal war seen on the European continent since the Second World War. An industrial-scale war, a war that has seen more than 55,000 Russian soldiers lose their lives. A war that has seen cities become completely leveled to the ground. A war that has seen the needless abuse, torture and deaths of thousands of innocent men, women and children. But also a war that is showing us how far it is possible to go if what you are fighting for is righteous.
Что ты хотел доказать? А?
Я хотел
На свободу? Ты с тюрьмы освободился, да? Таким образом ты шел воевать, да? Так ты сзади.
A war that has shown not only the Ukrainians, but all of us who our true friends are, who we can trust, who truly believes in our values, and who would rather see them turn to dust. Heroes are not born, they are made. And in the 6 months since Russia launched its full-scale invasion, thousands of European heroes has been made. As of right now, the Ukrainians are successfully pushing towards the city of Kherson in the south, and they are close. In fact, only about 15 kilometers of occupied territory is separating them from the city center, and they have even been more successful in the north, where they have liberated the entirety of the Kharkiv region. The Ukrainians have even crossed the Oskil River and have taken control over both river banks. They are now threatening Russian-occupied Luhansk. I have seen more than a few people asking questions like, if the Ukrainians could recapture the entire Kharkiv region in just a few days, why don't they just continue into the Luhansk region right away? The reason for this probably has to do with the fact that, contrary to the Russian armed forces, the Ukrainian army actually values the lives of their soldiers. They value human life. One thing we need to understand is that Ukraine is an absolutely enormous country, and in a war like this, it is very easy to become overextended. And overextension is a great way to get your soldiers killed. Just ask the Russians. The Ukrainians could probably have continued to push. They could probably even have been successful, but the risk is simply too great. They need their logistics to catch up to them first, and they need everything to be planned out in detail. But not to worry, liberation is on its way. This is what the heroic governor in exile of the Luhansk region, Serhiy Haidai, had to say. We try to say as little as possible so as not to hinder the counteroffensive. I can tell you that the battles for Izium and Liman are almost over. As soon as Liman is completely liberated, the big counterattack to liberate all of Luhansk will commence. Now, I personally wouldn't mind just spending the rest of the video watching these amazing videos of euphoric people getting liberated by brave Ukrainian soldiers. It reminds me a lot of the videos taken when Allied forces liberated Western Europe back in 1944-45. But we need to talk about what the Russians have been doing, what Vladimir Putin has been doing. Because since the Ukrainian counteroffensive, They have been panicking and acting very strangely. As the Ukrainians pushed towards Kherson, even as they were blitzing through the Kharkiv region, the Russians kept attacking in Donbass, more specifically in the Bakhmut direction, right here. Now this is really strange, not only because they keep losing hundreds of soldiers daily in these mindless attacks. It is strange not only because all these soldiers could have been used for defense. No, it is really strange because the reason why the Russians are pushing towards Bakhmut is so they can link up with the troops moving south from Izium, troops that doesn't exist anymore. It simply makes no sense whatsoever, and it just goes to show how little the Russian state cares for its citizens. Another thing that will soon take place that on the surface may seem like a weird move is the fake elections that will soon be held in both the Luhansk and Donetsk regions. This is the reason for the title of the video, by the way. Now it might seem strange to hold elections in the middle of a war. It might seem even stranger when, as a matter of fact, the Russians doesn't even control the entire Donbass region. But let me tell you why I think Putin is going to hold these fake elections now. If you have been watching my previous videos, you will have heard me talk about how I think Putin's next move will be to formally declare war on Ukraine and call in the reserves. This is still what I think is going to happen, by the way, just with one small change. I think Putin has found a way to call in the reserves without having to declare war on Ukraine. Now hear me out, because this is important. Let's say Putin holds these fake elections quickly. We all know the result beforehand. He can then sign a document formally annexing the Luhansk and Donetsk regions, making them quote-unquote official parts of the Russian Federation. He will then be able to go out and say to the Russian people that Ukraine has declared war on Russia by attacking its territory, giving him the perfect reason to call in the reserves and force young Russians to go and die for his legacy. Of course, no normal thinking people in the world would believe him, but he couldn't care less about that. He only needs the people of Russia to believe him. One thing is certain, Vladimir Putin will not back down.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
В Херсонской области администрация приняли решение подготовить и провести референдум о вхождении Херсонской области в состав Российской Федерации. Мы взяли курс на воссоединение с Россией и уже не свернем с него.
Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel.